Hello, my name's Gavin Menzies and I'm the author of Lost Treasures of Atlantis, an Ancient Mystery Revealed. And I'm delighted to say Iran have bought worldwide rights for this story. And I'd like to take a little of your time, if I may, to tell you how this book came about. When I was young, the story of Atlantis was very well known, an ancient civilization which spanned the world, had been destroyed by a huge tsunami and volcanic upheaval. That, to me, appeared absolute rubbish. I thought it was the refuge of cranks and nutters, and I completely dismissed it. An accident shattered my belief because my wife and I went to Crete to stay in a monastery, to have a quiet time at Mass, and to walk on Crete's southern shore and really enjoy ourselves. And whilst we were there on one of these walks, we came across a very old palace, a place called Phaistos, which was set in a beautiful setting overlooking the sea and the lee of the mountains. And we were told by our guide that this palace at Phaistos had been built in 2500 BC. That is the time of the pharaohs. And this was extraordinary information to us. It must be the world's oldest palace building. And we said, how do you know that this is the case? And the guide said, because in the tombs of the pharaohs, there are pictures of Cretans coming from Phaistos to the pharaohs with gifts. Well, this was a bombshell, and we decided there and then we would try and find pictures of these ships in the museums in Crete. We couldn't find any. And the reason we couldn't find any was because Crete had been wiped out by an enormous volcanic explosion which had occurred on the island of Santorini, some 70 miles north of Crete, and it had buried Crete in ash. The whole civilization, which was called the Minoan civilization, came to an end, and that was that. We therefore decided to go to Santorini to see if we could find evidence of what had happened there. And we did so. We went by ferry, and we arrived in Santorini to find that the archaeologists had excavated a town, a Minoan town, in the south of the island, and in doing so, by complete luck, they drilled down into the drawing room of a wealthy ship's captain, and around the walls of this ship's captain's drawing room were pictures of a fleet of ships which were returning to Santorini from a long distant voyage far abroad. These ships were 3 times the size of Columbus's, and they were dated obviously by the room, which was buried in 1450 BC, before 1450 BC. So here we had pictures of a fleet of ocean-going ships coming home 3,500 years ago. Amazing. We just couldn't believe it. So the next thing we decided to do is to find if there were wrecks of these ships. And we found on the coast of Greece and Turkey there were 3 ships wrecked near a place called Bodrum. We went to Bodrum, and these 3 ships, one dated 1600 BC, one dated 1400 BC, another dated 1310 BC, had been raised from the Mediterranean bed, and they'd been brought up and put in museums there, and you could see them, and they're very, very advanced construction of these ships. Now, the most interesting thing of all is that the ships had been carrying copper. The copper had reacted with the seawater, and it had preserved an area of hull. And inside the hull, there were goods from 6 different civilizations. There were goods from Africa, goods from India, from the middle of the Indian Ocean, from Asia, from the Mediterranean itself, from Northwest Europe, from the Baltic, and from America. So this was absolutely astounding. It meant that there had been international trade across the oceans 3,500 years ago. And Columbus, in fact, was 3,000 years late in discovering America. So we decided we would visit, we'd put a year aside, and we'd visit all the places in which the goods came from. So we went to the Great Lakes of America, we went to southern India, we went to the Indian Ocean, India and Africa, and so on. And we corroborated that every single place where goods had been found inside the hulls of these ships, there was corroborative evidence in the places from which the goods had been brought. And that's the subject of my book. Now, say 2 very important things happened at the end of the book. The first is, once we could say exactly where the Minoans had gone, we could see if there was a DNA of the local people who live there today reflecting the Minoan voyages. In other words, had the Minoans slept with local girls. And every single place there's either X2 or X2A haplotype, which shows that the Minoans visited those places, even the Great Lakes of America. So the Minoans, the civilization of Atlantis, as they were later known, created an empire from North America, the Great Lakes, all the way across the world to southern India. Their women were extremely elegant. They wore mascara, lipstick, rouge. They had wonderful jewelry, most elegant dresses, high-heel shoes. They were an incredible civilization who lived in peace. Now, just recently, the last week, I've been contacted by Professor Tsikritis, a Greek mathematician, and he has managed to translate Linear A language of the Minoans, which shows that they traveled exactly where I said in the book. So in other words, to summarize, the Atlantis story is true. The empire was created by Minoans, and it was wiped out by this massive eruption which happened in Santorini, which sent a tidal wave across the Mediterranean and buried the rest of the civilization under volcanic ash. Truth is certainly stranger than fiction. So I hope you will read the book and let us know what your views are. Thank you very much.